Hi, I'm Dr. Karen Sutherland, and I'm really grateful and excited to be able to deliver this month's LinkedIn local session. And it's all about LinkedIn fundamentals for business. So after a brief introduction to the LinkedIn platform, this session will be broken into 4 different parts. The first section is looking at profiles. Personal profiles, company profiles, looking at how to set those up well, but also how to optimize what you already have. Part 2 will look at the topic of connections, and I'm asked about this very regularly. So how to make meaningful professional connections and what that actually means to you. The third section will look at how to create content, not only create it, but find great content to share as well, and how to do that in a way that adds value to your audience. Part 4 will look briefly at LinkedIn advertising. And then there'll be time where you can, I'll put my details up so you can actually contact me with questions. So often when people talk about LinkedIn, they describe it in this sort of sense. As you can see here, it's almost like it's a place where your CV goes to die. And it's very different now, but I still hear LinkedIn described in these terms from people who aren't very active in it or haven't been there for a long time. So you can see here, you've got all of these gravestones, and then every so often in your inbox, you will get a connection request from maybe someone you worked at McDonald's with when you were a teenager. But look, times have changed. It was a little bit like this, I admit, a few years ago, but it's very, very different now. As you can see here, the number of users on LinkedIn has increased considerably. So it now has 675 million users, and then just under half of those are actually active on a monthly basis. And you can see here, it's also been named as the #1 channel for business-to-business marketers. And it's because there is the professional platform. It's because while there are other platforms, say Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, the audience on there are very sort of diverse and they're there for different reasons. But with LinkedIn, it is a professional platform. People are on there to learn more about their industry and their profession. They're there to connect with other professionals. And so if you are a business wanting to connect with professionals or other businesses, this is definitely the platform to be on. You can see here, this admittedly is a statistic from LinkedIn, but from their research, they have found that 62% of business-to-business marketers have successfully generated leads from the platform. And I can honestly say myself, in terms of lead generation, that LinkedIn is really a great place to do that. And particularly if you're posting content in your area of expertise, which we'll talk a bit more about that later. But it is a great place to find prospective customers and connect with them. Just to give you a little insight into the sort of geographical range of LinkedIn users, because when you're working with businesses, and particularly now since COVID, it's really opened up the world geographically for businesses operating online. So you can see here just how dispersed they are. So we have 11 million users in Australia. The States clearly have the greatest number because that's where LinkedIn is from, and then Europe next. But you can see it's quite substantial, and they are very well dispersed geographically around the globe. So I know myself, I led a social media study tour for my students a couple of years ago. We went to Mumbai in India, and I organised that whole trip, and I made those connections of places. We went to visit digital marketing agencies and startups and what have you, and I reached out to people. I typed in, saw who my connections were in social media working in Mumbai, and people came up, and I contacted them and reached out to them. It was a really easy way to build connections and create conversations and have conversations with people that I needed to in a different part of the world. So it's really great at helping you can firstly find relevant people and then connect with them. So why LinkedIn? And I've sort of discussed this a little bit already, but it is still the case. It has changed a little bit, but the algorithm can still enable really high rates of organic reach. So it's the kind of reach you can't get on Facebook and Instagram anymore. So particularly Facebook. So in the early days of Facebook, you could reach so many people organically, but now, I mean, Facebook is clearly a business and it's clearly pay for play. And so to get that reach now, you need a large audience of highly engaged people to be able to reach that. And even then, it's still such a small percentage of people who follow you will see your content unless you boost it or pay for advertising. However, on LinkedIn, if people are engaging with your content, it can still reach a wide number of people who aren't even connected with you. So people who are connected with the people you're connected with, if that makes sense, can see your content purely because other people in your network are interacting with it. And again, it's a professional platform. So trying to connect with other business owners or prospective customers in a particular industry, it is the place to do it. It can be harder on other platforms depending on your business, but it can be harder on other platforms because particularly on things like Facebook and Instagram, people are there for other reasons. They're not there for professional connections generally. They're there for entertainment or to connect with friends and family, things like that. Whereas on LinkedIn, that's why they're there. So it's much easier to get people's attention in a sort of professional sense on that platform. It's a really great way, like being active on LinkedIn it's the perfect space to be able to build your credibility as a professional, particularly in a certain industry or area of expertise. So I know myself as a personal anecdote again, when I post sort of things around, say, social media advice on Facebook, they don't do so well as they do on LinkedIn where I'm getting them actually in front of other business owners. So I think that it's just the whole sort of, I guess, nature of the platform is for that. And so it's a really great place to show people what you know. And again, by doing that, by building it, it sort of follows on. There's a whole process where that if you are sharing content to show your expertise in a particular area, you are commenting on other people's posts with, relevant and helpful advice to keep building that credibility, then opportunities come to you, leads come to you. And that has definitely been the case for me, but it's also been the case for other people that I know as well, because the whole reason really, around someone being interested in what you do enough to become a customer is really around trust, and whether they trust your abilities. And by showing that through your interactions and your content on LinkedIn, it really helps to create and build that trust with people. All right, well, let's now look at how to set up and optimize your profile, personal and company. So I'm often asked, if I have a personal profile, do I need one for my business? And the answer is yes, you do, because your personal profile shows you as an individual, as a person. I mean, that's why it's called a personal profile. But it shares about it's you, and it's you interacting with other people's content as a human, as a professional, showing off what you know. Your company page is like the face of your business on LinkedIn. So it contains, it's like your company website or your Facebook business page, you still need your, your personal profile, but to interact on Facebook, but your company page is the face of your business. So it contains all those sort of business, that business information. It allows your employees to connect with it as well. So it means that if your employees can tag in that they are working at your business, when people look at their profiles, they can see your business, click through, and then go and find out more about your company. It allows you to run ads and do sponsored updates by having a company profile. It allows people to search for you, and it allows people to tag you. So here's a great example. In the courses that I teach at USC, every semester we connect with local business owners to be clients to our social media students in the courses. Now, what I like to do is at the end of the semester, send out a thank you on LinkedIn and on Facebook, tagging in those business names to say thank you and to also, give them some exposure as well. But if I'm on LinkedIn, often the company doesn't have a company page and I can't tag them. And it's really a missed opportunity to be able to gain that exposure. So it's just good to have that there. It allows you to post things like company updates, or, if you're creating videos and things like that for your Facebook page, some of them might be appropriate for your LinkedIn as well. But it just, it's really the face, as I said, of your business on there. But your personal profile, it's about you. It's about you as a professional, as an entrepreneur or business owner, and it allows you to be able to, keep yourself a bit separate as well. Because yes, you may be the face of your business in terms of the person who runs it, but your business itself is a different sort of entity. So you are connected, but you're not one and the same. So, and the other reason is that people want to see who is behind the business. They want to see the people behind it as well. And so by allowing your employees to be able to connect in, because their profiles actually show up on the company profile too as employees, it just, then shows people who are the people who run that business. Now, when you're setting up your personal profile, you need to think about some really important things. So firstly, think about who exactly are you trying to connect with. So who is your ultimate customer? What are you actually trying to do? Because if you're doing this for your business, everything you do on social media should really be supporting your business goals. So it's really important to go back, and I'm sure you know them already, but just go back, revisit them, and then use that as a way to inform your activities on any social media platform. So think about, with whom are you trying to connect? Who is your target audience? Who are your customers that you're trying to reach? Then think about, why are you trying to connect with them? So for what reason? Do you want them to be your customers? Do you want to collaborate? There'll be different reasons for different businesses. The other thing to think about is the common problems that this group, your target audience, or the people with whom you're trying to connect, what are their common problems, their common challenges that you can help them to solve. So your knowledge and expertise can actually help them. And this gives you a lot to go on. So I recommend to pause this part of the session now and sit down and write these things down. So with whom are you trying to connect? And the thing is, you have to remember that you can't connect with everybody. You have to be a bit more targeted in your approach, because if you try and speak to everybody, you're not going to connect with anybody. So it's really important to think about, who are the people most likely to be your customers? Who are your customers now? And what are their common characteristics? Because this will help to work out, who this group of people are. So write these things down, and they will help you to keep you focused on your activities on LinkedIn. Because overall, your aim is to communicate your skills and expertise in a way that really resonates and connects with the people that you're trying to connect with. And it's better to have only a few connections who are quite relevant and most likely to be your customers than hundreds and thousands of connections who are never going to be your customers. It's all about quality over quantity. The most important thing is to be relevant in terms of the people you're trying to connect with, but with everything that you do on social media, particularly on LinkedIn, and just leave out unnecessary details, which we're going to look at in just a second. Now we're going to really pull apart the different parts of a LinkedIn profile. So you can see here, I've just used mine as an example. Not that mine is 100% perfect, but I just thought I would pull it apart to give you an idea. So you can see here we have the banner area. Now in Canva, canva.com, if you're not familiar with Canva, it's a free, you can pay for certain elements, but it's generally free graphic design tool that anyone can use. It's really simple to use, and in there is an option for a LinkedIn banner, and there are templates, and it has the right sizing. The thing is, this is actually really prime real estate for people who come and visit your profile, because it, depending on what's going on here, you can really advertise and promote what's going on for you. So you can see here, this is the one I use mostly. So social media coaching, customized workshops. That's what I offer when I'm not teaching at USC, and my website name. So it's really easy for people to find me and go and have a look at the other things that I do. But you can put anything there. So if you're having an event coming up, it's a great, it's a great thing to do to change it temporarily and to promote that there. If you've got a book coming out, putting it there, anything that is quite topical that you can change it to, it's a great place to promote that. Now your profile photo, it's important that it's professional, but it's also good to show some of your personality. So for example, another personal anecdote, I had a profile photo that I took myself. It was just a selfie on my phone where I had my glasses on and I was, Miss Serious or Dr. Serious. And I never really got a lot. I got some response, but the difference in response when I went and actually had some professional photos taken and I used this photo instead has been remarkable, because you can see here I'm laughing, like I'm mid-laugh in this photo, and I'm wearing my favorite color, as you can see, and I just look like I'm a bit more human and personable. That's the thing. People want to connect with friendly people, and if your profile photo is too sort of cold and corporate, you're less likely to get people who are going to approach you. The other thing is to investing in some professional photos has been such a great investment for me. Because it's led to other things like speaking events and things like that. It helped me to add things to my website. I've used those photos so many times that it was just a really great investment. So I really recommend doing that, getting some professional photos taken. Even just one or two headshots are really nice to have to use on your social media, and making them consistent. So I use this photo on all my social media, my public social media profiles. Avoid things like, I guess I've seen people who, it's not a Facebook photo. So, you still need to look professional, wear professional clothes. Like, it's not a good place to wear something like you would, like you're going out to a nightclub or something like that. And I've seen that on here. So it's a really good idea, but it's also really important to actually have a photo, because it's really hard to build trust with people if you're not even willing to show your face on LinkedIn. So it's really important to have a photo on there. Now, the headline is this row of text along here. You only get a certain number of characters. However, it's really important that you think about that. I have learned from other experts on LinkedIn that it's good to have sort of a verb describing sort of what you're doing. So for me, to sum myself up, this is what I do. I'm helping business owners and communities learn about social media. That's what I do. I'm a social media educator. So you can see here, an educator, speaker, author, researcher. So that's really what I do. I find that now that I have the word speaker in my headline here, I tend to be invited to do more speaking. That makes sense. So writing, something that what you're doing, and I find the word helping has also brought more people to me, because they see me all up. I've had comments that I look personable and helpful. So, and that's, and friendly. And so that's what's brought people to me. So it depends on the sort of image that you're going for, of course. But yeah, just thinking of ways that people are going to sort of connect with you without knowing you and feel comfortable interacting with you. I've got some examples. So there's a guy called Dr. LinkedIn, and he has awards every year for the best LinkedIn profile. So let me just take you to some of those to give you an insight into who won and why they won. So Chris Morton is the person who won the award, I think in 2018. And so let's have a look at his profile. Here he's very clear about the areas that he specializes in and what he does here. And then here's his website. Very clear profile photo. And then again, it's quite active the way he describes himself here. So editor and author, fixes your high-tech medical device and marketing content for accuracy, readability, continuity, and integrity. Very clear as to what he does and what he's about. So if we scroll down, we'll look at the About section more, but let's have a look at his one. So we're going to cover why this section is really important as well. And that's important to actually write it and include a fair bit of information in there, like he has done. He's very clear about his services and what he actually does and the areas he covers. And this is the place to promote that. Then he has examples of his work. And his experience. And again, more examples of his work. So he has had a quite long, interesting career, and then his education. And then he has volunteer experience and lots. It's a very extensive profile. Now, in second place was John Esperian. So again, very clear. He clearly has his book being promoted there, his avatar, where you can buy the book. Very clear. And although you can't really read the title, the sort of subheadings on the book, you can see what it looks like. And so it'd be very identifiable if you went into a book, a bookstore or online to be able to see, what that book was. Now let's look at his headline: relentlessly helpful technical copywriting for business to business websites. Very clear, you know. He's all about being helpful. And there's that word again, helpful, helping. And he sums himself up as a LinkedIn nerd, author of Content DNA, not a douche canoe. So I really like that because it shows a bit his personality, you know. You can still be professional and still show who you are. Now, here's about section. You can see here, now the use of little emojis can be quite effective used in this way. And when people think of emojis, they think of the laughing out loud one, or, you know, and no. So you can actually pick one that's really sort of in line with your branding. For my own one, it's like a red triangle, and it's because a lot of my branding, as you may have noticed, is black and red, and I really love those colors. I'm not an Essendon supporter by any means, but I just really like that. And so a lot of my branding and colors and things like that are in those colors. And so I use that, and I use it as, say, bullet points, as you can see here. And again, it's just this description of what he does. You can see here, he's summed up the problem that his customers face: too busy to write your own content, too close to your business to clearly explain what you do. So clearly these are the issues that have been coming up with his customers. And then he's saying, I have the solution, and there's the solution. Really clear, saying how he can help. Again, if you look up here, he has his email address right up top there, so you can contact him. So then he has reasons why you should hire him. So it's a really great technique in marketing to break down those barriers that people often put up to say why they won't hire you, they won't use your services or buy your products. He's knocking those down in this section. You can see this is why you should hire him. And then he provides other information as well. Then he's got, you know, his book and other things that sort of add to his credibility. And then his experience. Education, you know, it's just the same. And then recommendations as well, which we'll talk about in a second. So you can see with those two examples just how well they've used the features of LinkedIn and on their own sort of personal profiles. So I have a little activity for you now. So please, after reading this, and I'll go through it with you, please pause and have a go at setting up or optimizing your profile. So go and have a look at your profile photo on your LinkedIn profile and tell me, is this image an accurate and professional and personable representation of you? Are you looking at the camera? Are you looking at the people who are looking at your profile? Are you looking them in the eye? Are you smiling? Do you look friendly and personable and professional in this photo? If not, and you may even want to ask someone's opinion on that, go and have a look and find one that is, or take another one, or even, as I said, consider getting some professional photos done. Now look at your banner. And if you're happy with it, that's fine. If not, go to Canva and then select the LinkedIn banner option and look at some of the templates, and you can customize these templates. You can customize them to your branding colors, change fonts, all sorts of things to make it, you know, on brand for you. But just have a look and see if there's something that's a bit more sort of professional looking that you can include on your profile. And then your headline. So you have 120 characters, which is not a lot. It's hard to sum up your whole career and professional life in 120 characters, but have a go. So as you can see, with my one, and we've looked at two other examples, I'm about helping business owners and communities learn about social media. At the heart of it, what do you do? What do you do? What does your business do? What the thing that you're trying to achieve, and just sum that up. So if you can weave in the word helping in there, then do it. If not, think of some other way to express what you're doing in those limited number of characters. So as I say here, use clear but vivid language. And think about what the people you're trying to connect with, what would you want them to know more about? You can include your business name or awards, podcast, blog, whatever. As you saw in some of those examples, people had their book, author of, book name. Just what else can you put in there to let people know what you do and what you're about? And then think about, is there an emoji that you could use that's on brand for you, that's relevant, that's professional looking, because there's so many, that you could use, consistently for bullet points and things like that, so that then becomes associated with you and your brand. So as I mentioned, I have the red triangle, and so you can see how I've used it on this example here. So take some time and work through these activities. Now, the next important section of a LinkedIn profile is your about section. So with the other elements completed as part of the previous activity, now we need to think about how you're going to represent yourself in this section. So the optimal length for this section is between 350 and 400 words. And it's really a great place where you can tell your story and show what you're offering and how you can help the people you're trying to connect with. So one of the previous examples, you could see he was so clear. He's like, is this your problem? This is how I can help. This is why you should hire me. And that's a really great template to use. So stating the problem, providing the solution, breaking down the barriers, preventing people from buying, and then adding further information to keep building your credibility, and then call to action. So here's an example by Jo Saunders, and Jo is a LinkedIn expert, an Australian LinkedIn expert. And so she does an excellent has an excellent way of using her about section too. So if you can see here, she also asked the question, not sure how to leverage LinkedIn. She has her details straight up. Here, I can help you. Let's schedule a chat. And then she talks about what her mission is and how she can help you. So she provides a list of her services, and then why you should hire her. So she's been connecting to others, around 30 years ago, and she's been designing, delivering events and things like that. So talking about her work history, and then her recognition. So, named number 2 LinkedIn expert in Asia Pacific. So just other sort of awards and accolades that support her when she's saying, I can help you. So this was a really great one. So again, please pause this video and go and have a look at your about section and rewrite. So write it in the first person, because it's really your story, and when people are there, they don't want to hear about, Jo Saunders, this, that. They want you. They want to hear from you. They want to hear your story in your words. So write it in the first person. Write it like you would be talking to someone, but be professional. No swearing. Avoid slang, things like that. Write well, but write it in a chatty, conversational way. Your opening line is the most important for any sort of social media post or content, because that first line will determine if anyone's going to keep reading. So think about that first line. You can see here with Jo, she asked a question, not sure how to leverage LinkedIn. I mean, that's why we're here, right? So really good on the money hook of a line there, first line there. Tell your story of your main achievements, and show your personality. Use that emoji that you've selected in the last exercise, and, you know, just tell people about yourself, but think about it in a strategic way. I really liked the previous example as well, where, as I said again, you know, ask the question about what the issues are, solution, break down barriers, add more credibility. Great formula to do that, and I recommend you use that. So pause now and have a go at rewriting your about section. The next section we're going to talk about is your experience. So as you can see, it's really about your current work experience. And you have to think about this very carefully, because again, it's about relevance, and it depends on what you want to really get across. So for some people, they've had a very interesting career journey where they've worked in multiple industries, and they want to tell their whole career story in there. And look, that's fine. But if you're sort of working in an industry where people aren't going to be that interested in what you did 15 years ago, in working in a completely different one, it's sometimes better to leave that stuff out. And it's sometimes better just to include the most relevant stuff to the people that you're trying to connect with. So begin with the most recent and then backwards. As I said, it's up to you what you include. Personally, I try and only include what's relevant to the industry I'm working in and trying to work in. And I think internships are good to include in this sort of work experience, as well as a section for volunteerism. But it's even better when they're relevant. So relevant work experience will go a long way for you, rather than putting in stuff just because you want to show that you've been doing other things. It's better to show that you've been building knowledge in a particular area. So again, pause the video and go and look at your experience section and just think, is there something that you would remove because it's not in line with the audience that you're trying to connect with? Or is there something you need to add because you've forgotten it? And the next section is education. So again, relevance is key. So as I say to my students, you don't have to put every little course in there if it's not relevant to the professional area you're going to work in. So if, say, for example, you were going for a social media marketing role, you probably wouldn't put in that you've completed a responsible service of alcohol course. But if you're going for a job in event management, absolutely. So think about the other things that you've done in terms of your education and see, are they relevant? So here I've put in, I've done a lot of sort of TAFE courses and things like that, but I really only included my university stuff. I've included the relevant TAFE courses around professional writing and those sorts of things because they are relevant to what I'm working in now. But you know, there's been other sort of crafty sort of things that I've done that really don't lend themselves to anything that I'm doing now in terms of working in social media and lecturing. So I leave those out. So pause the video again and go and check. So and ask these questions when you look at your education section. So what qualifications strengthen your credibility in your chosen field? What qualifications help to build trust between you and your target audience? Because again, it's that credibility and trust that you're trying to achieve. And is there anything unrelated to my current industry that really could be removed? And again, quality is better than quantity. Now, another section is licenses and certification. So this is a really great place to show off the relevant, smaller sort of micro credentials that you have been doing. So for example, I've done a lot of things in terms of the Google, like there's Google Digital Garage, have a lot of free courses around Google Ads and Google Analytics and things like that. So I've done those, and they give you little badges that can come straight through into LinkedIn. So I include those because my area is, marketing, digital marketing, social media. Makes sense. Same with HubSpot. And other sort of little courses that I've done, I do include those because I think it's important to show that even though I'm not studying at university anymore, I am still building my skills. And so, but think about the ones that you've done. Have you got them there? Are they relevant? So go again and look at your profile and think about other things that you can add, other things that you can remove. So the next section I want to talk about is your skills and endorsements and recommendations. And so these are reliant on other people to add them for you. So you can ask people to do this, or some people actually go and add skills and endorsements and then ask other people to do it for them, or they provide a recommendation and then ask for one back. It's up to you how you approach it. But just make sure that it's relevant, because sometimes I find people who don't really know me go in and add these skills and endorsements in the hope that I'll do the same for them, but they're for things I've never done. So just make sure that the stuff that's on there is actually relevant to your chosen industry. So again, go and just check. And your accomplishments. So this is a section on LinkedIn where you can add other things that add to your credibility. So there are so many types that you can include here. There are things like awards, publications, which I use a lot when I get something published in a peer-reviewed journal or something like that. I'll add it in there. There's even things for like patents, courses, other courses that you've completed, projects that you've managed and been part of. You can add in test scores if they were through the roof, languages that you know, and organizations that you're affiliated with. So a lot of people forget to add this stuff in the accomplishments section, but it's a really good way to showcase your experience and your skills. So as I say here, can you please check, is there anything else that you can add to this that is relevant and would be relevant in showcasing your credibility to your target audience? Would you add anything or remove anything? So go and have a look and just go over that and make those changes. Finally, the interests area. So when this really shows what you're doing, it's almost like showing your activity, where it also on LinkedIn, it'll show when you're commenting and sharing content and posting content. But in this, it'll show up, it shows the people that you are following. So these are mainly people with a large following. So if you want to look credible and aligned with your industry, it's a strategic thing to do to actually go and follow experts and leaders in your field, because then they will show up on your page. So go and have a look and see what comes up on your interest page, and then remove any that you think are not really aligned to what you're trying to do. But then go and have a look and think and see, like, who are the leaders in your industry and are you following them? And you can actually use your search function to on LinkedIn, just try and find out people who have a big following and that are, the big voices in your industry, and go and follow them. Now, I want to chat about your company profile. So as you can see, there's a lot to include on your personal profile, and there's not as much on your company profile, but still really important things to do. So the red hot tip for this, and research has shown that you need to complete all the information on the company profile. So as you can see here, pages that have complete information in all areas receive more weekly views. That's just it. So these are the sections on the company profile. Company overview, so explaining what the company does, the graphical elements of your logo and header image, the address of where your organization is, web address, where the headquarters are, the size, and that's determined by the number of employees, the actual industry. So I'm going to show you some examples now of some really good company profiles just to give you a sense of what they look like when all the areas are completed, and they're actually used quite actively. So this is Hayes Recruiting company page on LinkedIn. So you can see here, really nice cover image, nice banner showing really what they do and their people. And it's important to do that because remember, sometimes people think company, it's like a cold, faceless organization. But remember, a company and a business is all about its people. So you can see that's reflected here. Clear logo, and then a nice, clear explanation of who it is and the followers, which comes up from LinkedIn. This is like its main feed where it has its last post. So you can see here, this was ways around, in relation to COVID. And employees that are related to your profile. So they, of course, a recruiter, they're promoting and publicizing jobs here and advertising for jobs. They're using particular hashtags, and then there's just more of their content here. So everything that they're posting from their site, from their page, also appears here. If we go to their about, they're talking, they've clearly updated that around coronavirus just to keep everyone across what's going on. And then it's just got facts about the organization, website, company size, all of those sort of information, and all of their locations. What they do. So really nicely set out. Explaining different parts of their business. So clearly with smaller businesses, you won't, this is a global company, but with smaller businesses, you don't need as much content, but you still need to include information on all of these areas. So jobs, there may not be any at your organization, and that's fine. But then we get to people, and this comes up. So when you have your company profile, it means that your employees can then connect with you, and they will show up here on your company page. And it looks good to see the people in your organization. There's a section for video. So you can see that's really nice video library there with helpful content, and then any ads that they're running as well. But we'll get to ads in a minute. So, and website as well. So you can see, it's really, all the areas are filled in with relevant information. Brand I wanted to show you is Hacker Earth. They're using people, but clearly, cartoon animated sort of people, graphic people, nice tagline, and their logo. Again, using video content and their posts on there. And also they're using polls, I think, as well. A new feature, which we're going to talk about a bit later too. And then, again, about a bit shorter than the other example, but, ways you can actually download information and go through to them. Jobs, people, video, and ads, but it's the most important thing is that the about information, and that you're posting content from your company profile when it's relevant and appropriate and helpful is a good thing to do. So that brings us to the end of part 1. And now we're going to move into part 2 around how to make meaningful professional connections. So making meaningful professional connections on LinkedIn. So remember, again, it's quality over quantity. And so you make connections in 2 different ways, clearly. So you receive a request or you send a request. And it's important to just really think strategically around both actions. So before you actually receive or accept a request, really think about the person who is sending you that request, because there are sort of bots and things on LinkedIn, and there are sort of rogue accounts as well. So you don't have to accept everybody just because they ask you to. And the thing is to remember that if you accept a whole heap of people who are not in line or not even close to what your prospective customers may be, you end up actually making it harder for you and your content to reach the people that you're trying to reach, because it's getting in front of people who are not really that interested. And if they don't engage with your content, then LinkedIn will not share it with other people. So you need to make sure that your audience is relevant. There's a checklist that I use. You can create your own checklist. So it depends on what's important to you, but this is what I ask before I actually accept a LinkedIn request. So do I actually know this person? And if I don't know this person, are they influential in my industry? Does this person even work in my industry? Is this person connected with credible people that I know? Because sometimes if I get a LinkedIn request, the person's not in my industry, they don't live locally, they're not connected to anybody that I know. I don't know anything about them. I just don't think it's worth actually connecting with them. And sometimes if you're a local business, sometimes it's a good idea to connect with people in your local area, because it's just that word of mouth as well. So people know people, and sometimes your customers won't come directly from that direct connection, but can come through other people. So receiving a request, so write your own list that supports your goal. And so, as I said, if you just accept everybody, you're going to actually dilute your efforts because your content's not going to reach the people that you really want it to. So it's better to really think about that target audience and who your customers are most likely going to be, and really just have connections with them. Now, sending requests can be, it's really, again, it's about being relevant when you send a request. It's not about just sending it to absolutely anyone. So when you're making a meaningful professional connection, to do it effectively, it could be, after an event as a follow-up, because people still give out business cards, but business cards aren't going to keep that connection. Following up on LinkedIn after to keep that connection permanent is a really good thing to do. Again, it could be about reconnecting with people that you already know. They could be former colleagues or even people you went to university or school with who are now working in your field. It can be a way to connect with someone who's creating content that's amazing, and trying to maintain that connection so you can keep seeing more of their content. That's always a good thing to do. Also, aligning yourself with leading voices and influencers. So it's a good, if they don't accept a request, you can always follow them. But it's a good way to keep on top of industry news by following these leaders. And it's a good idea, to actually connect with your current colleagues and customers. If you're studying, even the people you're going to university with, because often you end up in similar careers or similar industries later, and you still have that connection. When sending a request, never ever include a sales pitch. Biggest turn off ever is that, and the thing is, the last thing people want to feel like is that you're looking at them with dollar signs in your eyes. So yes, eventually someone may become your customer, but that shouldn't be the reason why you're connecting with them. It should be because you are genuinely interested in building a relationship with them, a professional relationship with them. So you need to add context to the connection request. Don't just send it without writing anything. You need to, again, make that your connection request, make it relevant to the person you're sending it to. So, for example, after you meet someone at an event, you follow up the next day with a LinkedIn request and say it was really great meeting you, and mention the event and maybe mention something that you talked about. Or even an even nicer touch is to think of something that you talked about, find an article that may interest them, and then send that link with the request. It's a very thoughtful and considered way to do it because you're adding value. Another thing you could do is if you're reconnecting with a former classmate or a colleague or someone like that, just say that you saw them on LinkedIn and wanted to reconnect with them, and then ask them what they've been up to since you last went to whatever school or whatever with them. But again, provide that context, because don't assume everyone's going to remember you. So next, connecting with someone who makes great content, tell them how much you really, and what exactly you liked about that piece of content, and say that you want to connect with them so you can continue seeing their work. If connecting with a leading voice or an influencer, it's just tell them that you admire them and what they do for the industry in your connection requests. And connecting with current colleagues and customers and suppliers, well, tell them again that you thought it would be great to connect on LinkedIn because you see them in person and you're regularly connected, so why not? So it's just providing that context to it. Just randomly setting off something without any context, people are less likely to actually respond well to that. So here's a little activity for you. So why not pick someone from that previous list that I mentioned. Now go to LinkedIn and write a message to them and send them a connection request, and send that off. So, think about someone that or an industry leader or something like that, someone whose content you really like, and say that in your connection request. Other techniques to generate engagement on LinkedIn are as follows. So tagging relevant people and organizations in your post. So please be relevant with this. There's a guy I'm connected with on LinkedIn. He drives me insane. He randomly tags about 30 people in his posts, so we see it. And then you just get all the notifications. So don't do that. But say, for example, you're sharing an article and someone might be interested, or you would like to hear someone's opinion on that, ask them the question and tag them in that. Or if they're involved in the content in some way, tag them in there as well. Similar to the example I use when I send a thank you to all the business owners who are clients for my students. Contribute helpful comments to other people's posts and tag the person in the response. So if there's some sort of conversation going on, if someone comments on your post or you comment on someone else's post, always tag the person's name that you're talking to in your response, because that increases the reach, but it also it notifies that person that you're talking to them as well. Always respond to comments on your posts. So always respond, just because that also helps to increase the reach, and it's sort of a polite thing to do anyway. Using hashtags can be really effective as well. Don't use any more than 3. But what can happen is if you have a piece of content that, say, I sometimes trend on hashtag social media. So what happens if you posted something with that hashtag and people start interacting, you will get a notification that it's trending. And so it means that your piece of content on that hashtag, because you can go and click on hashtags now on LinkedIn and see all the posts there, yours is way up there in the feed of that hashtag. So it means lots more people will see it. Another good way is to set up a group. So you're not to try and sell things in that group, but what you're doing is you're providing a space where people in your industry can discuss things about your industry. So it's really an act of service, and by doing that, you will get the kudos for providing that and building that community. Another way now is that LinkedIn's added all these extra features to your post. So you can celebrate an occasion or share a job that you have on offer, ask for an expert to help you, and even creating a poll. So this can actually generate a lot of engagement because you are giving people options like similar to the polls on Facebook, and asking for their opinion. So people love to sort of click in and do that. So, and then remember, the more people that interact with your post, the more people see it and offer help as well. So lots of ways to get further reach with your social media content. And that brings us to the end of part 2. And so now we're going to look at LinkedIn content, creating it, curating it. So let's do that now. First up, let's talk about what is valuable content on LinkedIn, because it's a different sort of context to post things. Remember, it's all about business and your profession and your industry. So thinking about that, think of the functions that content needs to have in this particular space. So valuable content on LinkedIn, it educates or informs. It can inspire, but you've got to sort of inspire in a professional sense. So generally the quote sort of Instagram type posts don't go so well. So really inspiring through, maybe someone's story about overcoming some sort of challenge can be inspiring, and that's how you would do that on LinkedIn. Or it could be reviewing. So it can be reviewing some change in the industry, reviewing some product or tool that can be helpful to people in a particular industry area. Valuable content on LinkedIn does not try and sell to people. So please don't do that. It's about helping, it's about adding value, and it's about not only sort of showing off your credibility and your knowledge, but it's really about sharing your knowledge to help others. That's what it's about. It's not about big noting yourself. It's about helping and serving others. So as I say here, and this is actually a chapter in my book that's coming out later in the year, and it's called Stop Selling and Start Helping. So stop focusing your content on selling to other people. Focus your content on helping them. And then what happens is people are drawn to you by your act of service and by the trust they build in you, and then they will buy from you. Remember that people need to go through stages when they first know who you are, getting to the other end of the spectrum of actually telling everyone how good you are. So this is the stages. So first, the awareness stage is when they learn that you exist. Interest is when they start to see, oh, there's something that you have or you do that's of interest to me. And then the desire stage is where they think, yeah, I need your help. I definitely would like to purchase or buy or hire your services. And that's the action stage. Then after that, you need to see if they've had a good experience, whether they actually support what you do. And then the loyalty stage is when they become repeat customers. And then the advocacy stage is when they leave positive reviews, they tell other people that they should hire you, those sorts of things. So word of mouth and referrals. Now let's talk about the difference between content curation and creation. So content curation is the process of sourcing other people's content and then presenting it in an ethical way, but in a way that adds value to your target audience. So it might be finding a really great article that talks about a development in your industry that would be of use to your customers, that someone else has written, sharing that link. And what you need to do is provide some form of commentary on it. So you need to maybe pull out one of the key points from the article. A good thing to do as well is to tag the author in that. So pull out a key point or ask a question, did you know that? And then thank and tag the author as well. So thank you such and such for this great article, and then post it that way. Content creation is about creating your own content. So you're the content creator. You're not sharing anyone else's stuff, you're actually doing it. So this is around things like taking photos, writing articles, but you're the author. So to curate content well, you need to understand again who your audience is, the problems and challenges they face, and then what information can actually help them to overcome that. You need to follow credible sources and news outlets in your industry and in your field so that you're getting correct information. A great tool and a great free tool to do this is Google Alerts. So it's just google.com/alerts. Go there, type in keywords related to your industry, and you can choose for articles to be sent to you as they're posted, or a list of articles at the end of every day and or every week using those keywords. So for example, I use one for social media, and at the end of every day, I get the latest news where the word social media has been used. And then I often, share those if I think they're going to be of interest to my target audience. Think about the images that you're downloading if you're going to use other people's images, particularly on, say, Google Images, because often they are still copyrighted. So you can use websites like Pexels and Pixabay. They have free images on there that you can use. So it's good to share posts within the platform. So if someone is shared an article, you can, within LinkedIn or a post, share that on yours, but always add your commentary. So don't just share something without writing something as well. Always add something in there because then it adds something from you on there as well, because content curation is all about, has that human element, and you need to add yourself in there too. But it's also good, as I said, to tag that content creator. So an activity now, go to Google Alerts and then type in some relevant keywords, pick an article that comes up, paste the article into a LinkedIn post and add a line of commentary about it, put in 3 relevant hashtags and post it, just to get you into the practice of that. Now, content creation. LinkedIn has become a huge platform for content creators. So in the past, as I said, it was a little bit like a place where your CV goes to die, but now it's a content channel. So there are so many types of content that you can actually post on there now. So again, your personal company profiles, but it allows images and text and video, live video by approval. And you can even put in events now and reactions. So when on someone else's post, you can react in these particular ways. So thoughtful, great idea, love, applause, thumbs up, the like. You can add comments, you can tag people, hashtag. You can write articles. So if you have a blog, you can always copy and paste it into a LinkedIn article. Run groups, you can message, share, and there's ads. So lots of different categories there. So general advice, so topic examples. So this is a list that if you're stuck on what can I write about, what can I post about, go to this list and it will help you. So general advice about your industry. Think of the common questions that you're asked by your customers. Create some content around, one of those, even a 1-minute video answering one of those questions. I can guarantee you will be well received because clearly lots of people have those questions. Celebrate your successes. There's nothing wrong with celebrating your successes. Some people feel like they're being, conceited by doing that, and you're not. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing that. You can celebrate your success without being egotistical. Write about, not just that you've attended events. The best content I've seen around events is where the person actually writes a commentary or the 3 key things they took away from an event. That is really helpful information to the people who couldn't attend. So rather than posting a photo of your at the event, hey, look at me, actually provide value by sharing what you learned from that event. Announce new members of the team or when people are leaving, team building exercises. Thanking customers, volunteers, donors, supporters, suppliers, they go really well on LinkedIn. flashback posts. So if your company's been around for a long time, doing sort of a flashback, throwback Thursday can really work well. Lessons that you've learned in your career, these go really well too. So, or just say you've just come out of a challenge. Talk about what you've learned from that, because other people will benefit from your knowledge. When you're asking for advice or assistance, people normally on LinkedIn will jump to help because it's a professional community. Industry news and any sort of research findings that come out that relate to your industry. Now, in terms of your updates, the opening sentence is the most important thing, because this is what will encourage people to click and read more. And so you have about 140 characters before it will be cut off with this see more. And so you need to make sure that what you've written is self-contained enough, and it's enough of a hook so people will want to read more, or it's a complete sentence. You can space out the sentences on longer posts. So you have quite a lot of characters. So you can do that, but just space them out so it's easier to read in a web environment. Use your branded emojis as your bullet points, like we've discussed. Tag relevant people, tag people, ask their opinion, use your hashtag. So we've gone over this. Here's an example. So I talked about here my students having their client meetings in our facility at USC called The Cave. And so you can see here, I told the story, I tagged in the university, and then I told, gave more details about the story and how the students performed, spaced it out and tagged in the relevant people there too. With your images, remember that these are the I guess the size and the dimensions that you need for LinkedIn. Most photos work okay, but you can actually create LinkedIn photo posts on Canva as well. They have the right dimensions for you. So use bright and vibrant colors to jump out of that news feed, and the photos must be compelling and engaging. So, and make sure that they're clear, they're not pixelated, they're good quality images so that they look professional. There's a great tool called Snapseed that's created by Google, and it's free. It's just a phone app, and that's a really great photo editor if you want to fix that. And remember the rule of thirds. So if you're taking photos on your phone, normally the grid will come up. The aim is to put whatever the subject of the image on one of these, on these dissecting lines, either is fine. In the middle, it's better to have them off to one side. It just appears better on the screen. So another activity, so please pause this video and look at creating a photo. So we used this activity at the last LinkedIn local, but why don't you just do it in wherever you are right now? So take a photo of where you are. It could even be that you're watching this, and create a LinkedIn update with your image to say that you're now watching this month's LinkedIn local, and tag in some people. Feel free to tag me in, or your own business, and use your 3 hashtags, and your there's alt text on the photo, which helps people who have screen readers to tell them what the image is. It also helps with SEO. So yeah, so why not take a photo of you looking at this LinkedIn local session and post it on LinkedIn. Now, how to create content video. LinkedIn supports video. It's done it for a little while now, and live video. And so you can record it using your smartphone and just upload straight away. For live video, you need to apply for that, which is fine. There's only a limited number, but it's good to apply if you're keen to do that. Optimal length for videos, the shorter the better. Vertical is preferred for recorded and live video, but if you can record on your laptop and things like that. The other dimension, so landscape works okay, but they do say you get greater reach with vertical. Landscape's better for advertisements, and try and add those closed captions. There's different apps that you can do that just helps, because most people don't listen to the sound when they watch video on social media. So if you don't have the captions on there, apart for accessibility reasons, you know, you may be missing a huge chunk of the audience. So ideas for videos, you can do how-tos, you can do explainers. So how-to is showing someone how to actually do something. You can explain a different product or service, provide tips, interview people, talk about current promotions or news and events or milestones of your company. So this little grab's taken from a LinkedIn Live. So I have a show now called Like, Share, Follow, where I interview USC grads who studied social media. So just looking at where they are now in their career journey. So another way to do it is the CEO of the Social Media Marketing Institute, Marae Ryan, she does a LinkedIn Live often with interviewing people and experts in the field. So that's, you know, really interesting to other industry people too. In terms of articles, so as I said, you can just copy across blog posts, which I often do. It's sometimes better to not just link to blog posts. Like it's good at driving traffic to your website, but you don't get as much reach as if you actually publish within the platform, because all the platforms want you to stay there. So that's just a no-brainer. But it supports the creation of articles up to 2,000 words. These ones tend to perform better between 1,900 and 2,000, the longer ones. And they're similar to blogs, similar functionality. You can have images and videos and links and things like that within there as well. And, you know, you can actually add them to your, you know, company blog post too. So to achieve even greater reach. So yeah, so it's a good thing to do. If you're going to be writing blog posts anyway, it's good to actually put them on LinkedIn too. And as I mentioned before, LinkedIn now has the functionality to create events. So here's just a screen grab of that. Yeah, so I'll show you how to do that in a second. But yeah, you can put the event name and you can add in these graphical elements and where it is as well. And you can invite people too. So I just wanted to show you how you can actually create an event. So as you can see here, this is when I click on LinkedIn, this is my profile and my main feed. So you scroll down and then now in this little toolbar, there's a little events area. You just click event. You can click whether it's you or a company that you're involved with, and then you can add in all the details there. And so that brings us to the end of part 3. And so we've got one final section to go. So now let's talk about LinkedIn advertising. Now, LinkedIn advertising is very expensive. So cost per click can be quite a lot. So I've heard of local businesses on the Sunshine Coast sometimes paying $18 for a click, which is quite extraordinary. But you need to think about, I guess, what it is, what the end goal is. So if what you're selling is much greater than that, if it's a big ticket item, then $18 isn't going to be so much. But if it's not, you've got to really take this into consideration. So the objectives and targeting are very similar to Facebook, which, you know, that is one of Facebook's greatest features, is that ability to target certain audiences. But an expert, AJ Wilcox, suggests that really the best functions for LinkedIn advertising are when you're seeking leads with a high lifetime value. So as I said, big ticket items, it's fine, or when you're recruiting staff. So just think about what the end goal is and whether that's actually worth it to you. But with advertising, the actual analytics around it are really quite good. It can show you a lot of where your money's going, how it's being spent, how your ads are actually performing. So you can really understand more about that ROI. And so this brings us to the end of this month's LinkedIn Local and this session on LinkedIn Fundamentals for Business. So key points I want you to remember from this session was that, stop selling and start helping, because you will make sales if you build your credibility as a helpful person by showing your knowledge and expertise. Know your audience. So important. So important to know and to actually articulate who is it you're trying to communicate with, and then communicating to them in a way that they will connect with your message and your content. Be genuine, stay in your lane. Don't comment on things you have no expertise in, but, really build your credibility in your area. Be consistent on LinkedIn. So engage regularly and post when you can. But if you can't post, engage. Leave comments, helpful comments, and like and share and things like that. But at least be active in some sense. Tag in relevant people's names and businesses and use hashtags. But relevance is the key. And remember to select and approve your connections strategically. Again, quality over quantity. And if you have questions, please feel free to get in touch. I actually, for the last session I ran of this, created a workbook and with some of the key points from this session. So if you would like that, please feel free to contact me using the details on here. And if you're interested in any form of social media coaching or workshops, let me know. These are really customized around your level of knowledge of yours and your employees and your needs for your business. So rather than going to a workshop where it's quite generic, I'll build one around the needs of your business and your skills. So yes, please feel free to get in touch. And it's been a really great honor to chat to you in this month's LinkedIn Local. Thank you very much.